There is an allegation that those MPs who were in support of the 19th Amendment are now in support of the 20th Amendment and were in support of many more amendments to the Constitution. And there is a question of accountability and what principles they really have. What are your views on this?
I do believe that we don't need amendments, but rather a new constitution for this country. We have not performed for 72 years or 73 years since the independence to the expectations of the people as a country.
Welcome everyone. You're watching another episode of Conversations with me, Alanki. In today's episode, I will be in conversation with the State Minister for National Heritage, Performing Arts and Rural Arts Promotion, Vidra Wickramanayake. Thank you for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you for inviting.
Looking forward to having a very constructive discussion with you.
It depends on the questions you ask.
And on the answers that you would give as well. To start things off with, the public votes and elects its representatives to Parliament, but how accountable are they to the public? It's interesting to note that you are one of the very few parliamentarians that actually declare your assets, but many do not do this. What is the reason for this?
Well, it is a choice of individual. There is no hard and fast rule on this, that we have to declare our assets.
Do you think that as a parliamentarian, you have to be accountable to the public in terms of declaring your assets?
Yeah, we are declaring our assets, but that is not available to the public. What we
Right.
did was, we declared the assets, plus made it available to the public.
Many people are in debate about the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, the proposed changes. Do you agree with all the proposed changes?
I still haven't gone through it,
Okay.
for the very reason, now it is before the Supreme Court. So we are waiting for the judgment.
There is an allegation that those MPs who were in support of the 19th Amendment are now in support of the 20th Amendment and were in support of many more amendments to the Constitution. And there is a question of accountability and what principles they really have. What are your views on this?
I do believe that we don't need amendments, but rather a new constitution for this country,
Okay.
based on our heritage, aimed at the future, and which should be constructive for today. So it's something that is linking the past, present, and the future. The aspirations of people that should be embodied in the Constitution. So that is not to the whims and fancies of set of people, set of the parliamentarians or set of others. So these should be a very broad constitution, in the sense that it embodies the national unity plus the interest of the nation, which was not in 1978 Constitution.
Right.
It was catering, and it was myopic in the sense they were looking at a set of people. It's to the needs of set of people. So we should go beyond that.
So we need a constitution.
We need a constitution, a brand new constitution.
that is in the best interest of the public.
Exactly. And there should be a vast, broad dialogues and things like very deep discussions, things like that should come into play.
Something interesting to note was that you stated that if this country is to progress, one should have a different ideology. What change do you think we really need?
We have not performed for 72 years or 73 years, since the independence, to the expectations of the people as a country. Now we have pushed to an abyss. I feel that it is the word that I can recall, I can quote. But if we have to come out of this, then first we need a revolution of thoughts, then agrarian revolution, industrial revolution, and an environment revolution.
Absolutely.
So these are the most needed in terms of reforms, in terms of new ideologies, and this is the new path that we have to take.
You did mention that we need to pay attention to the environment. Do you think the leaders of these countries pay sufficient attention to the environment?
No,
Do you think it's because of a lack of education or?
not just lack of education, but again, because people, these leaders, so-called the political leaders, that is what you are referring to. The political leaders, they have a framework of 5 years.
Right.
So they are looking at the next elections, how to be re-elected. There's a myth that for them to be re-elected, they have to provide employment. They have to provide housing facilities. Now all these are tangible,
Right.
but we have to think of the intangible. So that is what really counts. Our self-esteem as a nation, the prestige, the dignity, these are intangible.
And obviously, like you said, much attention is given to tangible things which would actually benefit them in the elections, but not what would actually be best for the citizens in the long run.
Yeah, in the sense that now you are referring to the environment,
Right.
because in any given environment system, there is an ecological balance.
Absolutely.
So once this ecological balance is no longer in existence, that will collapse. That is what is happening with the earth slips. There will be numerous earth slips in the country, the future, with the very near future, because we have been constructing, destructing the soil to a great effect that it will. Of course, we have to consider this. If we do not respect Mother Nature, the results will be devastating. Now look at the garbage that is compounded in oceans, streams, waterways, rivers, full of plastic. Now what will happen in the future? All this will be dead. All this will be dead. This is what will happen. Yes, think about this. Without nature, we won't be able to survive.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
When I
with
say it could be oxygen, it could be water, we have the best water in the earth. So within this, under the earth crust, we have the best water. But that is being depleted due to man-made activities. So in about another 50 years to come, the water will be more expensive than oil. So, but we have the resource. We are not harnessing it. We are not managing it. We don't care. Simply, we don't care.
I agree with you. Moving on to our next question. Sri Lanka is currently facing an economic crisis, and certain measures have been taken to help revive the economy, and one such measure is by limiting or restricting imports. Do you truly believe that in today's day and age, a closed economy will help the country to progress?
Not a closed economy, but it depends on the importations, on what the commodity that you are restricting.
But do you believe that that would help in helping the country to progress?
The problem lies when we opened up the economy in 1977. Opened up. Unlike in any other open economy. We say that it is the United States that has the best example of open economy. But they have a lot of restrictions. Lot of restrictions. There's protectionism of their own industries, agriculture, all that. But in the case of Sri Lanka, we destroyed our industries and also agriculture. So we need to transform into a production economy. We don't have any production there so far. So we have to gear towards that. That is what we want to do.
Right. You've been in politics for some time. What are the challenges you faced as a politician in Sri Lanka?
The challenges, of course, there are numerous.
Yeah. What are the
Numerous.
biggest challenges you faced?
Stay in contention as a politician, to be on the ball. It's very difficult. You cannot satisfy 100%. But you have to be very open, honest with the people. If you cannot do anything, if you can't cater to their needs, then you have to tell that frankly. Frankly.
You obtained a large amount of votes in the general elections. And do you truly feel that with your ministry, you can truly serve the people who voted for you?
It's not the ministry that matters. No, it is serving the people and serving the nation are two different entities.
Right.
Now, when you say the serving people, then you go back to that same level of, the other politicians, providing employment,
Yeah.
providing housing facilities, all those things. But serving the nation is something that it's a very holistic approach,
Right.
and you need a lot of energy and of course courage. So I believe that it's a serving the nation. If you serve the nation properly, you are serving the people as well.
Absolutely. What, under your ministry, what responsibilities fall under the purview of your ministry?
Anything
and what
under
plans,
the sun.
What plans do you have?
We have a lot of plans. Okay, it could be tangible or intangible or it's sites or whatever it is. Now you will come up with Sigiriya or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes,
Okay.
I was going to say that.
All right. These are declared by UNESCO.
Yes.
There are about 8 or 9
UNESCO World Heritage
World
Sites.
Heritage.
Yes.
Okay. But no national heritage sites or national heritage, something intangible or something. Let's say farming, our traditional farming systems. I believe that should be a national heritage
Right.
because we don't have this in any other country, including the tank systems that we have. This is my personal view. Then again, this Ayurvedic system, Sri Lankan Ayurvedic system, that is not available in other countries. So that should be made a national heritage. These are my thoughts.
Right.
And there are a lot of sites.
That probably don't have much recognition.
Yeah, much recognition and which has recognition. They have been acclaimed as world heritage, a part of world heritage, but not as a national heritage.
Right.
So this is the foremost need. We have to identify that. What are the national heritage sites or the intangible could be the agriculture or whatever, whatever the field. So we have to identify those. And again then the performing arts. Now where are we in terms of performing arts? What has happened? Why and what has happened to them? These fields. Then the welfare of the performers. Not only in the city, but vast majority lives in rural areas.
Right.
It could be a drum beater, it could be a dancer. So whoever it is, we have to come up with a database, a list of all these performers. We thought of having the reason is that we thought of having a pension scheme and an insurance for all these people, irrespective of what they perform. Because there's also disparity between the incomes of these people. We have to look beyond the present generation. What would be the second generation? Now these are the problems that we are encountering. So when you watch a Perahera, you can see the children, only the children that they perform, not the elders. So there should be a reason for it. We have to realign our way of managing. So that is what we thought of having this. Number one is the recognition. Do we recognize them as part and parcel of our society? Not only them, but even you are an artist. We are all of us. Anything that is based on art, that tantamounts to be, he or she tantamounts to be an artist.
Right.
So art comes from within. It's not something that you acquire. When you acquire, it becomes science. The knowledge that you acquire, the principles that is based on. So everything is a blend of art and science. So we are concentrating more on art, because this has been neglected for ages. Though there has been a Ministry of Cultural Affairs since 1957. As I said, when the open economy started destroying not only the economy but also our roots. The culture that is where the roots are. That is unidentified with the roots and culture. So we have to, that is why we are trying to regrow. I don't know whether we'll be successful, but we want to culture the culture. I don't know how far we will be satisfied and we'll be able to do that. But I believe that since Cabinet Minister is the Honorable Prime Minister, concurrently is the Minister of Finance, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa. So that is a strength that we have. That's one of the biggest strengths that we have. Because being the Prime Minister and being the Finance Minister. And he is also the Minister of Cultural Affairs. So I personally feel that we may able to achieve our targets with his help.
That is truly an interesting perspective you have. Moving on to our final question. What is your vision for a better Sri Lanka?
For a better Sri Lanka.
Yes.
There are where there are no limits, in the sense that boundaries, identifying that we are this type of people, we belong to different sect. No, we have to eradicate that. That is why I thought, why I told you earlier that we need a revolution of thoughts. As a country to progress and for a nation to overcome the challenges and the bottlenecks, we have to think alike. Not as Sinhala, not as Tamil, not as Muslim, but all
United.
As one. All as one.
Right.
And we have to progress. We can have our identities, of course. We can practice our own religion as long as it doesn't harm anybody, and we can have our own identity. We can, and that is what we want to do. The Ministry of Cultural Affairs, we want to do that, to harness each culture. For an example, now I think, though we say that we are the descendants of Vijaya or some, I don't know how you believe in that. Now, what is the role of Vedas? Why have we set them aside? They also have their own culture. But we don't recognize it. We don't value it. So, all of us have to be integrated into one body. That body is Sri Lanka. That is what I think, that is the biggest strength that we could have. And of course, as politicians, it should be selfless service. Selfless service. Be humble and be simple. And you should be committed for the cause.
That is beautiful. We have come to the end of the conversation. Thank you for your time and your thoughts, and thank you for having this conversation.
Thank you very much, Alanki. Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you. We have come to the end of this conversation. Thank you for watching. Do remember to stay safe, wear a mask, practice social distancing as much as you can. Thank you for watching, and do subscribe to this YouTube channel.